Sign it, old man. You're nothing but a burden, and this house is wasted on you. Those were the words my son, Marcus, spat at me as he shoved the papers across my kitchen table on the morning of my 65th birthday. My name is Edward Thompson, and as I sit here today in my lawyer's office, looking at the stack of evidence we've gathered over the past 6 months, I still can't believe my own flesh and blood could transform into the monster who tried to erase me from my own life. Let me take you back to where it all began, because understanding how we got here matters. I met Marcus's mother, Janet, when I was 23 years old. She was a kindergarten teacher with the warmest smile I'd ever seen, and we married within a year. Marcus came along 2 years later, and for a while, life was perfect. Then Janet got sick. Breast cancer. It was aggressive, and despite every treatment we could afford, she passed away when Marcus was only 7 years old. From that moment, Marcus became my entire world. I was a civil engineer for the city of Portland, making decent money, but every dollar I earned went toward giving Marcus the life I thought he deserved. Private schools, because I wanted him to have the best education. Summer camps, because I wanted him to have experiences I never had. A car when he turned 16, because I didn't want him to struggle like I did. College tuition fully paid, all 4 years at Oregon State, because I didn't want him starting his adult life buried in debt. I worked overtime, took on weekend consulting jobs, skipped vacations. My friends would invite me fishing or to baseball games, and I'd decline because I was saving for Marcus's future. My own father called me once and said, "Eddie, you're going to spoil that boy," but I brushed him off. I thought I was being a good parent. I thought sacrifice meant love. Marcus graduated with a degree in business management and landed a job at a tech startup in Seattle. I was so proud. He met Vanessa there, a marketing executive with designer clothes and expensive tastes. They married within 6 months, and I footed the bill for the wedding, $40,000 for one day. Vanessa's parents contributed nothing, claiming they'd already spent their money raising 3 daughters. I didn't mind. Marcus was happy, and that's what mattered. Or so I thought. The first sign of trouble came about a year after their wedding. Marcus called and asked if he could borrow $20,000. His startup was struggling, he said, and he needed to cover some expenses until his next bonus came through. I withdrew the money from my retirement savings and gave it to him. He promised to pay me back within 6 months. 6 months turned into a year turned into 2. Every time I gently mentioned it, Marcus would get defensive. "Dad, we're barely making ends meet," he'd say. "Vanessa wants to start a family, and we need to be financially stable first." I stopped asking. Then came the second request, $50,000 this time. They wanted to buy a house, Marcus explained, and they were just short on the down payment. "Think of it as an early inheritance," he said, laughing. "You're going to leave me everything anyway, right?" That comment should have been a warning sign, but I ignored it. I gave him the money. The requests never stopped after that. $10,000 for furniture, $15,000 when Vanessa's car broke down, $8,000 for a business opportunity that fell through. By the time I turned 62, I'd given Marcus over $150,000, and he'd never paid back a single cent. But I still had my house, a modest 3-bedroom Craftsman in Northeast Portland that I'd bought 30 years ago for $80,000. It was now worth close to $700,000, thanks to the city's housing boom. I'd paid off the mortgage 5 years earlier, and it was my safety net. As long as I had the house, I'd be okay. 3 years ago, I retired from the city with a pension of $3,200 a month. It wasn't much, but combined with Social Security, I could live comfortably. I spent my days tending to my garden, reading, and volunteering at the local library. Life was quiet, peaceful even. Marcus and Vanessa visited occasionally, usually when they wanted something, but on my 65th birthday, they showed up unannounced with a bottle of cheap wine and forced smiles. "Dad, we need to talk," Marcus said after we'd finished the awkward birthday dinner Vanessa had picked up from a grocery store deli. That's when he pulled out the papers. "We think it's time you moved into a senior living community," Marcus said, his voice taking on that condescending tone I'd grown to recognize. "You're getting older, and this house is too much for you to maintain." I looked at him, confused. "I'm 65, Marcus, not 95. I'm in perfect health. I don't need assisted living." Vanessa leaned forward, her fake sympathy making my skin crawl. "Edward, we're just worried about you. What if you fall? What if something happens? You're all alone here." "I'm fine," I insisted. I like living here. This is my home. Marcus's expression hardened. Well, it's not practical anymore. Vanessa and I have been struggling financially. I lost my job 3 months ago, and we're about to lose our house. We need you to sell this place and give us the money to get back on our feet. The room went silent. I stared at my son, trying to process what he'd just said. You want me to sell my house and give you the money? I asked slowly. Not give, Marcus corrected quickly. We'll pay you back eventually. Consider it another loan. Like all the other loans I've given you that you've never repaid? His face flushed red. That's not fair, Dad. I've had setbacks. The economy's been tough. The answer is no, I said firmly. This is my home, and I'm not selling it. That's when everything changed. Marcus stood up so fast his chair fell backward. You selfish bastard, he hissed. After everything I've done for you, after all the times I've visited, taken care of you, made sure you weren't lonely, and this is how you repay me? I was stunned. Marcus, I'm the one who's given you everything. I paid for your entire childhood, your education, your wedding. I've loaned you over $150,000. That money was mine, he shouted. You were just holding it for me. It was my inheritance, and you had no right to keep it from me while you live in this expensive house doing nothing. Vanessa stood beside him, her arms crossed, nodding along. You're being incredibly selfish, Edward. We have dreams, goals. You've already lived your life. I felt like I'd been slapped. Get out, I said quietly. Both of you, get out of my house. Marcus's eyes went cold. Fine, but you're going to regret this, old man. You're nothing but a burden, and this house is wasted on you. They left, and I stood in my kitchen, shaking. I didn't hear from them for 3 weeks. Then, on a Tuesday morning in March, there was a knock at my door. I opened it to find 2 police officers and a woman in a business suit. Edward Thompson? One officer asked. Yes? I'm Officer Peterson, and this is Officer Chang. This is Dr. Susan Monroe from Adult Protective Services. We've received a report that you're living in unsafe conditions and may be a danger to yourself. I was too shocked to respond. The woman, Dr. Monroe, stepped forward with a clipboard. Mr. Thompson, we need to conduct a welfare check. Your son Marcus filed a report stating that you've been exhibiting signs of dementia, forgetting to eat, leaving the stove on, and wandering the neighborhood confused. That's absurd, I said. I'm perfectly fine. My son is lying. But they insisted on coming inside. They looked through my house, finding nothing wrong. My kitchen was clean, my bills were paid and organized on my desk, my medications were properly stored. Dr. Monroe asked me a series of cognitive questions, which I answered correctly. Mr. Thompson appears to be functioning independently, Dr. Monroe told the officers. I don't see any cause for concern. They left, but I knew this wasn't over. Marcus was up to something. 2 days later, I woke up to find my locks had been changed. I was locked inside my own house. I tried my doors, my windows. Everything was sealed from the outside. I called 911 from my landline. This is 911. What's your emergency? I'm locked inside my house. Someone changed my locks from the outside. Sir, are you saying you're trapped inside your residence? Yes. I'm Edward Thompson at 847 Northeast Prescott Street. Please send someone. But when the police arrived with Marcus, he had documentation. A notarized letter claiming I'd given him power of attorney 2 months ago due to declining mental health. A statement from a doctor I'd never met saying I'd been diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's. A court order granting him temporary guardianship. All forgeries. But I couldn't prove it in that moment. Dad's been confused lately, Marcus told the officers, his voice dripping with false concern. He keeps forgetting things, wandering off. We changed the locks for his own safety. He tried to leave the house at 2 in the morning last week, didn't even know where he was going. That's a lie, I shouted. But the more I protested, the more unstable I appeared. The police officer looked uncomfortable. Mr. Thompson, if your son has legal guardianship, he doesn't. Those documents are fake. Sir, these appear to be legitimate court documents. If you want to contest them, you'll need to hire a lawyer. But Marcus had taken my phone, my wallet, my credit cards. He'd locked me inside my house, and legally, I had no way to fight back in that moment. That was the beginning of my nightmare. For the next 4 months, I was a prisoner in my own home. Marcus and Vanessa controlled everything. They took over my bank accounts using the forged power of attorney. They stopped paying my bills to save money. They cut off my internet, claiming I didn't need it. They took my car keys, saying I was no longer safe to drive. Vanessa moved into my guest room, claiming she needed to monitor me. She cooked bland meals, served them to me like I was an invalid, and watched me constantly. Marcus came by twice a week, always with that same fake concern. "How are you feeling, Dad? Taking your medications?" I wasn't taking any medications, because I didn't need any, but he'd convinced the forged doctor to prescribe me something. Pills that made me drowsy, foggy. I started palming them, spitting them out when Vanessa wasn't looking. At night, I could hear them in the living room talking about their plans. "The house should sell for at least $700,000, Marcus said one night. "After we pay off our mortgage and debts, we'll still have over $300,000 left." "What about him?" Vanessa asked, her voice carrying down the hallway. "We'll put him in the cheapest nursing home we can find. Medicaid will cover most of it once we've drained his accounts." I lay in my bed, staring at the ceiling, realizing my son was planning to take everything from me and abandon me in some state-run facility. This wasn't about concern. It was about greed, pure and simple. But they'd made one critical mistake. They'd underestimated me. Before Marcus had locked me down completely, I'd had one lucid moment, one chance. It was the day before they changed the locks, when I'd gotten a strange feeling that something was very wrong. I'd called my old friend from the city, Robert Chen, who'd retired 2 years before me. Robert was now a volunteer with the Oregon State Bar Association, helping seniors navigate legal issues. "Robert," I'd said, keeping my voice low, "I need your help. Can you come over? Don't tell anyone." Robert had come that evening. I'd explained everything to him, shown him the requests for money, told him about Marcus's threats. Robert's expression had grown darker with every word. "Eddie, this is elder financial abuse," he'd said. "You need to protect yourself legally. Now." We'd spent 2 hours that night setting up safeguards. Robert connected me with an attorney named Patricia Reeves, who specialized in elder law. Via speakerphone, Patricia had asked me dozens of questions, taking notes. "Mr. Thompson, I'm going to file some documents tomorrow morning," she'd said. "First, a revocation of any power of attorney you may have allegedly granted, just to be safe. Second, I'm going to register you with the Oregon Adult Protective Services, with a warning that you're at risk of financial exploitation. Third, I want you to change your bank accounts to require dual signatures, yours and mine, for any transactions over $500. We'd done it all that night. The next morning, before Marcus showed up with his fake documents, my actual legal protection was already in place. Patricia had also helped me set up a hidden camera system in my house, tiny devices that looked like electrical outlets and smoke detectors, recording everything. So when Marcus locked me inside my house, when he and Vanessa started their scheme, I had everything documented. Every conversation, every forged document they'd used, every plan they'd discussed. But I had to wait. Patricia had been clear. We need enough evidence to guarantee criminal charges stick. Document everything. Be patient. Patient. That was easy for her to say. She wasn't the one locked in a house, watching her life savings get drained, listening to her son plan her abandonment. 4 months. That's how long I endured it. 4 months of being treated like I was senile, of eating terrible food, of pretending to be weak and confused while I was anything but. Then, on a Friday morning in July, everything came together. Marcus and Vanessa were in the living room, on the phone with a real estate agent. "Yes, we're ready to list," Marcus was saying. "The owner is my father, but I have full power of attorney. He's been moved to a care facility. Except I hadn't been moved anywhere. I was 20 feet away, listening. That's when there was a knock at the door. Marcus answered it, and I heard a woman's voice I recognized. "Marcus Thompson?" "I'm Detective Sarah Kim with the Portland Police Bureau's Financial Crimes Unit. This is my partner, Detective James Martinez. We have a warrant for your arrest." I heard Marcus stammer. "What? There must be some mistake." "I haven't. You're being charged with elder abuse, financial exploitation, fraud, forgery, and false imprisonment. You have the right to remain silent." From my room I could hear everything. Vanessa screaming that this was a misunderstanding. Marcus demanding to call his lawyer. The officers informing them that Patricia Reeves, my attorney, had provided over 40 hours of recorded evidence, along with testimony from Robert Chen, bank statements showing unauthorized transfers, and the original court documents proving Marcus's papers were forged. Detective Kim came to my room and unlocked the door. She was in her 40s, with kind eyes. "Mr. Thompson, you're safe now," she said. I started crying. I couldn't help it. 4 months of fear, anger, and helplessness came pouring out. The next few weeks were a blur. Marcus and Vanessa were formally charged. The forged doctor turned out to be a friend of Vanessa's brother, who'd been paid $5,000 to sign fake medical documents. He was charged too. Patricia helped me regain control of my accounts. Marcus and Vanessa had managed to transfer $68,000 before the bank had frozen everything. Patricia filed civil suits to recover it all, plus damages. The trial happened 9 months later. I sat in that courtroom and watched my son try to justify what he'd done. "I was trying to help him," Marcus claimed on the stand. "He was getting old, making bad decisions. I was protecting him." But the prosecution had the recordings. Hours of Marcus and Vanessa discussing how to drain my accounts, how to sell my house, how to put me in the cheapest possible place and forget about me. The jury deliberated for 3 hours, guilty on all counts. The judge was a stern woman in her 60s named Judge Carol Henderson. When it came time for sentencing, she looked at Marcus with disgust. "Mr. Thompson, what you did to your father is one of the most reprehensible acts I've seen in my 30 years on the bench," she said. "You didn't just steal his money. You stole his dignity, his freedom, his peace of mind. You imprisoned him in his own home and planned to abandon him in poverty while you lived off his life savings. This court sentences you to 8 years in state prison, with no possibility of parole for the first 4 years. Additionally, you are ordered to pay full restitution of $68,000, plus an additional $200,000 in damages for emotional distress and legal fees." Vanessa got 5 years as an accomplice. The forged doctor got 3 years and lost his medical license. I sat there and watched them take Marcus away in handcuffs. He looked at me once, his eyes full of hatred, and I felt nothing. The son I'd raised was gone. This stranger wearing his face was someone I didn't recognize. Today, I'm 66 years old. I still live in my house on Northeast Prescott Street. Robert Chen and his wife have become like family to me. Patricia Reeves checks in regularly, and we've become friends. She connected me with a local seniors advocacy group, and now I volunteer, helping other elderly people recognize the warning signs of financial abuse. My phone has 83 missed calls from Marcus's prison number. I haven't answered a single one. He's written me 12 letters. I've burned them all unread. Some people have asked me if I'll ever forgive him, if I'll give him another chance when he gets out. My answer is always the same. Forgiveness is earned, not given. And my son didn't just betray me for money. He was willing to destroy me, to lock me away and forget I existed, all for his own greed. There's a quote I read once: "When someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time." Marcus showed me exactly who he was. A man who valued money more than his own father's life and freedom. I spent 45 years sacrificing everything for him, thinking that love meant giving him whatever he wanted. I was wrong. Real love means teaching responsibility, accountability, consequences. I failed as a parent because I never said no, never let him face hardship, never made him earn anything. But I'm not that person anymore. I don't answer the phone when he calls. I don't read his letters. I don't visit him in prison. Some people call that cruel, but I call it self-preservation. My story isn't unique. Every year, thousands of elderly Americans are financially exploited by their own family members. Billions of dollars are stolen, and countless lives are destroyed. Most victims never report it because they're ashamed, or they don't want to believe their loved ones could hurt them. I'm telling my story because I want other people to know. It can happen to you, and it's not your fault. If someone is pressuring you to sign over your assets, to give them access to your accounts, to simplify your finances by putting their name on your property, stop. Talk to an attorney. Talk to a trusted friend. Document everything. And if you're already trapped like I was, know that there is help. Adult protective services, legal aid societies, elder law attorneys. Don't give up. Don't assume you're powerless just because someone has taken your phone or your wallet or locked you in your house. I got out because I prepared ahead of time, because I had friends who cared, and because I refused to give up. You can too. As for Marcus, he'll be in prison until he's 49 years old. He'll lose his career, his freedom, his future. And when he gets out, he'll find that my will has been updated. Everything I own, every dollar, will go to the senior advocacy organization I now work with. Marcus will get nothing. Not because I hate him, but because he already took everything I was willing to give, and it still wasn't enough. That's my story. That's how my 65th birthday became the beginning of the worst 4 months of my life, and how my son's greed destroyed our family forever. Some people say I should feel sad about that, but mostly I just feel free.